It started with a quiet announcement that seemed routine on the surface. But inside palace corridors, the reaction was anything but ordinary. Sophie's new status within the royal household was being discussed behind closed doors. And those who witnessed the moment say Prince Edward's response caught everyone by surprise. What appeared to be a ceremonial adjustment quickly became the center of intense royal speculation. And as details emerged, it became clear this was about far more than a title. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. At first, the development seemed like one of many routine palace updates that passed through royal circles without attracting much attention. Yet according to insiders, this particular announcement carried a weight that immediately set it apart. Senior aides reportedly treated the matter with unusual seriousness, while conversations began unfolding among palace staff about what Sophie's expanding responsibilities could mean for the future of the monarchy. For years, she had quietly fulfilled her duties without demanding headlines or public praise. While others often found themselves at the center of controversy, Sophie steadily built a reputation for reliability, discipline, and loyalty. It was a reputation earned not through dramatic gestures but through consistent service. And now many believed that service was finally being acknowledged at the highest level. Reports suggest that Prince Edward was informed of the decision before it became public knowledge. Those familiar with the situation claim the moment carried a deep emotional significance. After all, Edward had witnessed firsthand the challenges Sophie faced throughout her royal journey. He had seen her navigate intense public scrutiny, adapt to an institution shaped by centuries of tradition, and continue moving forward even when attention was focused elsewhere. Unlike many royal stories built on sudden transformations, Sophie's rise was gradual, almost invisible to the outside world. Yet within palace walls, there was growing recognition that her influence had become impossible to ignore. As whispers spread through royal circles, courtiers reportedly began discussing what this development truly represented. Was it simply recognition for years of dedication? Or was it part of a larger strategy taking shape under King Charles's reign? Questions quickly emerged about the future structure of the monarchy and the trusted figures who would help guide it through an increasingly uncertain era. Sophie's name appeared more frequently in those conversations than ever before. What made the situation even more intriguing was the reaction from those closest to the institution. Many palace observers described a sense that something important was unfolding behind the scenes, something that extended far beyond ceremonial duties or honorary recognition. The more people examined the announcement, the clearer it became that this was not merely about one individual receiving greater responsibility. It was about trust, it was about influence, and perhaps most importantly, it was about identifying the figures the monarchy could depend upon during a period of profound transition. While the public saw only a brief announcement, insiders suggest a far more significant story was developing beneath the surface. And as speculation continued to grow, attention increasingly turned toward the long journey that had brought Sophie to this moment in the first place. But Sophie's new status did not emerge overnight. It was the result of years of quiet dedication that had finally become impossible to ignore. For decades, Sophie worked in the background while others commanded headlines. Yet while attention drifted elsewhere, she steadily became one of the monarchy's most trusted figures. Few realized that the foundation for her remarkable rise had been built through years of loyalty, service, and unwavering commitment. Long before discussions about expanded responsibilities and growing influence began circulating through palace corridors, Sophie's royal journey was defined by something far less glamorous: patience. While public attention often focused on dramatic controversies, succession debates, and family disputes, she quietly embraced a role that demanded resilience without recognition. There were no guarantees that her efforts would ever be rewarded. In fact, there were periods when it seemed her dedication might remain permanently overshadowed by larger personalities and louder headlines. Yet she continued forward, carrying out engagements, supporting charitable causes, and strengthening relationships within an institution that values consistency above almost everything else. What made her rise particularly remarkable was that it never appeared driven by ambition. Palace observers frequently noted that Sophie seemed more interested in fulfilling her responsibilities than expanding her profile. That approach gradually earned respect from senior figures who understood how difficult such restraint could be in a world constantly shaped by public attention and media scrutiny. While others found themselves pulled into storms of controversy, Sophie developed a reputation for reliability. She became someone trusted to represent the crown without distraction. Someone capable of navigating sensitive situations with calm determination. As the monarchy entered one of the most turbulent periods in its modern history, that reputation became increasingly valuable. Major royal departures created unexpected challenges. Long-established routines changed. Responsibilities that had once been shared among a larger group suddenly required a smaller circle of working royals to carry a greater burden. During those difficult years, Sophie quietly stepped forward, not with dramatic announcements or grand declarations, but through steady action. Her workload increased, her visibility grew, and with every new responsibility came greater confidence from those who depended upon her. The shift did not happen overnight. Instead, it unfolded gradually, almost unnoticed by the wider public. Yet inside royal circles, many were beginning to see a transformation taking place. Sophie was no longer viewed simply as a supportive member of the family. She was becoming one of the institution's most dependable assets. Her relationship with King Charles reportedly strengthened as both shared commitment to stability during uncertain times. At the same time, she earned growing respect from Prince William, who understood the importance of surrounding the future monarchy with trusted and experienced figures. Those connections quietly positioned Sophie closer to the center of royal operations than ever before. Meanwhile, public perception continued evolving. Year after year, approval for her work appeared to grow. Many people who had once known little about her began recognizing the consistency that had defined her service for decades. The more challenges the monarchy faced, the more valuable her steady presence seemed to become. Palace insiders had reportedly noticed this long before any official recognition arrived, and some even believed her importance had been underestimated for years. Yet what made the situation so fascinating was that the full extent of her growing influence was still hidden from public view. Behind the scenes, conversations were already beginning to take shape that would eventually change everything. And as Sophie's influence quietly expanded, senior royals began noticing something that could no longer be overlooked. The turning point reportedly came during a series of private discussions among senior palace officials. What began as routine planning soon evolved into conversations about the future shape of the monarchy, and Sophie's name repeatedly surfaced at the center of those talks. By this stage, Sophie's rise was no longer a quiet observation shared only among a handful of royal insiders. The years of dedication that had once gone largely unnoticed were now becoming impossible to separate from discussions about the monarchy's future. According to reports circulating within royal circles, senior aides had begun examining how the institution would continue adapting to an era defined by increasing scrutiny, changing public expectations, and a smaller group of working royals carrying a heavier burden than ever before. Those conversations were not simply about ceremonial appearances or public engagements. They were about trust. They were about dependability. Most importantly, they were about identifying the individuals capable of helping preserve stability during a period of profound transition. As those discussions continued, Sophie's name reportedly surfaced again and again. What made this particularly striking was that she had never aggressively pursued greater prominence. Her reputation had been built the opposite way. While others attracted attention through dramatic headlines, Sophie had spent years proving her value through consistency. Palace observers suggest that many officials increasingly viewed her as one of the safest pairs of hands within the institution. She had weathered difficult periods without becoming distracted by controversy. She had accepted greater responsibilities when circumstances demanded it. And she had done so while maintaining the steady professionalism that senior figures valued above all else. Behind closed doors, officials were reportedly assessing how best to strengthen the monarchy's senior ranks moving forward. King Charles's reign had entered a period where reliability carried enormous importance. Every decision appeared to be measured against one critical question: Who could the institution count on when pressure intensified? As those evaluations unfolded, Sophie emerged as an increasingly compelling answer. Her ability to connect with the public, support charitable initiatives, and represent the crown without creating unnecessary distractions distinguished her from many others. Gradually, conversations that had once focused on operational planning began evolving into something much larger. Reports suggest comparisons were quietly made between Sophie's contributions and those of other senior royals. Not because palace officials wished to create competition, but because they were attempting to identify where the monarchy's strongest assets truly existed. Again and again, Sophie's record appeared difficult to ignore. Years of service had produced a level of confidence that could not easily be replicated. She had earned respect from colleagues, admiration from supporters, and trust from senior decision-makers. What once seemed like an understated royal career was now being viewed through a very different lens. At the same time, anticipation began building among royal aides. Those familiar with internal discussions reportedly sensed that an important decision was approaching. While few details emerged publicly, whispers suggested momentum was gathering behind the idea of recognizing Sophie's growing importance in a more formal way. The atmosphere surrounding these conversations gradually shifted from speculation to expectation. Something significant appeared to be taking shape. Yet despite the growing confidence among palace officials, nobody fully understood how deeply personal the moment would become once the decision moved beyond discussion and into reality. For Prince Edward, the story was never simply about titles, responsibilities, or public recognition. It was about witnessing decades of sacrifice finally being acknowledged. And as the announcement drew closer, those closest to the situation sensed that the next chapter would reveal emotions far more powerful than anyone had anticipated. Yet no one anticipated the deeply personal reaction that would follow when Edward learned exactly what had been decided. When the news finally reached Prince Edward, insiders claim the moment was unexpectedly emotional. For years he had watched Sophie devote herself to royal service without demanding recognition. Now, according to palace whispers, he was witnessing years of sacrifice finally being acknowledged. For those who knew Prince Edward best, the reaction may have been surprising, but it was also deeply understandable. This was not simply a royal announcement landing on the desk of a senior member of the family. It was the culmination of a journey that had unfolded over decades. Long before conversations about influence, responsibility, or status began circulating through palace corridors, Edward had stood beside Sophie as she navigated one challenge after another. He had witnessed moments of uncertainty that the public rarely saw. He had watched her adapt to immense expectations, endure periods of scrutiny, and continue serving without complaint, even when recognition seemed distant. That history gave the announcement a significance that extended far beyond official titles. According to reports from palace circles, Edward was visibly moved as the reality of the decision began to sink in. The reaction reportedly caught some aides off guard because the usually reserved royal rarely allowed personal emotions to become visible. Yet those familiar with the couple's journey understood exactly why the moment carried such weight. For years, Sophie had quietly accepted responsibilities that continued growing in both complexity and importance. While others often dominated headlines, she remained focused on the work itself. There were no demands for greater prominence, no public campaigns for recognition. Instead, there was simply unwavering commitment to duty, repeated year after year with remarkable consistency. As memories of the past resurfaced, the emotional significance reportedly deepened. The couple's royal journey had not always been easy. Like every long-serving member of the monarchy, they faced periods of intense pressure and public examination. There were moments when expectations seemed overwhelming, and periods when their contributions appeared overshadowed by larger stories unfolding elsewhere within the family. Yet through every challenge, they remained committed to the institution they served. Those experiences created a bond not only between Edward and Sophie, but also between them and the responsibilities they carried on behalf of the crown. Sources suggest that Edward's pride became increasingly evident as discussions surrounding Sophie's achievements gained momentum. This was not pride rooted in status or prestige. It was something far more personal. It came from knowing how much effort had been invested over the years and understanding the sacrifices that often accompanied royal service. He had watched Sophie continue forward when circumstances were difficult. He had seen her remain dependable during periods of uncertainty. And now, according to palace whispers, he was witnessing others finally recognize what he had known for a very long time. The story quickly became a subject of conversation among royal staff. Aides reportedly shared accounts of the moment, while courtiers quietly reflected on the deeper meaning behind Edward's reaction. What fascinated many observers was not merely the emotional response itself, but what it seemed to represent. His reaction appeared to reflect a broader realization taking shape inside the monarchy. Sophie's rise was no longer being viewed as a reward for past service alone. Increasingly, it was being seen as an investment in the institution's future. That subtle shift transformed the announcement from an acknowledgement of achievement into something much larger. As the significance of the moment continued spreading through palace circles, attention gradually moved beyond Edward's emotions and toward the implications of what had just occurred. Because hidden beneath his pride, gratitude, and admiration was another powerful belief, one that would soon become central to the story unfolding behind palace walls. But Edward's reaction revealed something even deeper, a belief that Sophie's new role could help shape the monarchy's future. Beyond the headlines, Sophie's rise represents something larger than personal recognition. It reflects a changing royal landscape where duty, reliability, and steady service are becoming more valuable than ever before. As discussions surrounding Sophie's expanded role continued to spread through royal circles, many observers began reaching the same conclusion. This story was no longer simply about one individual receiving acknowledgement after years of dedication. It was becoming a reflection of a monarchy undergoing a profound transformation. The institution that once relied upon a larger network of senior working royals now faced a very different reality. Expectations remained high, public scrutiny continued to intensify, and every member of the royal family carried greater responsibility than before. In that environment, qualities that might once have been overlooked suddenly became essential. Dependability mattered more. Experience mattered more. Quiet competence mattered more. And few figures embodied those qualities as consistently as Sophie. For years, her strength had been her ability to remain steady during periods of uncertainty. Whenever the monarchy faced difficult moments, she appeared willing to step forward without seeking attention for herself. That pattern gradually changed the way many within the institution viewed her. Rather than being seen merely as a respected member of the family, she increasingly became regarded as a stabilizing force. According to palace observers, that reputation carried enormous weight behind closed doors. Stability is one of the monarchy's most valuable assets, particularly during times of transition, and Sophie had spent years proving that she could provide exactly that. Her growing importance also appeared closely connected to King Charles's vision for a streamlined monarchy. As the institution adapted to changing circumstances, the focus increasingly shifted toward a smaller group of trusted individuals capable of representing the crown with professionalism and consistency. Reports suggest that Sophie's reliability made her particularly valuable within this evolving structure. She had earned trust not through dramatic moments but through thousands of smaller ones. Every engagement completed, every challenge navigated, and every responsibility accepted helped strengthen confidence in her ability to serve a larger role. At the same time, her relationships with key members of the royal family continued attracting attention. Palace insiders frequently pointed to her strong working connection with King Charles, describing it as one built on mutual respect and shared commitment. Equally significant was her relationship with Prince William and Catherine. As the future of the monarchy increasingly centered on the next generation, Sophie found herself occupying a unique position. She understood the traditions of the past, while also maintaining close ties with those who would eventually lead the institution forward. In many ways, she became a bridge between generations, helping connect continuity with change. That role carried importance beyond ceremonial duties. It suggested a deeper purpose emerging within the monarchy itself. As public trust became increasingly valuable, Responsibilities were being entrusted to individuals capable of strengthening that connection. Sophie's growing influence appeared closely linked to that objective. Analysts and royal commentators began speculating that her role might continue, expanding in the years ahead. Some suggested she could become one of the most important supporting figures of King Charles's reign. Others believed her greatest impact might still lie ahead, particularly as future transitions gradually reshaped the institution. What made these discussions especially intriguing was that they pointed toward possibilities rather than conclusions. Sophie's story was not reaching its final chapter. Instead, it appeared to be entering an entirely new phase. The recognition she had received was significant, but many believed it represented the beginning of something larger, rather than the culmination of her journey. And as that realization spread through royal circles, curiosity began shifting toward the future and the opportunities that might soon emerge. And as Sophie stepped into this new chapter, attention quickly turned toward what might happen next. Every shift within the monarchy creates ripple effects. Sophie's elevated standing was no exception. Suddenly, conversations about the future included her name more frequently than ever, altering perceptions of where influence truly resides inside the royal household. What had started as a discussion about recognition was now evolving into something much larger. The significance of Sophie's rise could no longer be measured solely by titles, responsibilities, or ceremonial importance. Instead, it was beginning to reshape how many people viewed the balance of influence within the royal family itself. For years, assumptions about power inside the monarchy had often focused on the most visible figures. Yet palace insiders increasingly suggested that influence was not always found in the loudest voices or the most public roles. Sometimes it emerged through trust, consistency, and years of dependable service. As Sophie's profile continued growing, many began reassessing where some of the institution's most important relationships truly existed. Reports from royal observers indicated that changes were quietly taking place behind palace walls. Responsibilities were being distributed differently. Collaboration among senior working royals appeared to be increasing. As the monarchy adapted to new challenges, the need for a united and effective team became more important than ever. In that environment, Sophie was increasingly viewed as a key contributor. Her ability to work closely with different generations of the family made her uniquely valuable. She was trusted by those who represented the monarchy's present while maintaining strong connections to those helping shape its future. That evolving role became more noticeable as her presence at major royal events continued expanding. What once seemed routine now attracted greater attention. Every appearance sparked renewed discussion about her importance within the institution. Palace commentators began pointing out how frequently she appeared alongside senior members of the family during significant occasions. While such moments may have seemed symbolic to outside observers, many believed they reflected something much deeper. They suggested confidence. They suggested trust. And perhaps most significantly, they suggested preparation for an even larger role in the years ahead. Her growing visibility alongside William and Catherine became another subject of increasing interest. As public attention naturally focused on the future king-queen, Sophie appeared to be occupying an important supporting position within that broader vision. Palace watchers noted that she seemed to fit naturally into the monarchy's evolving structure. Rather than competing for attention, she strengthened the sense of continuity surrounding the institution. That quality earned admiration from many observers who viewed stability as one of the crown's greatest strengths during uncertain times. Inside royal circles, courtiers reportedly began reassessing assumptions they had held for years. Figures once considered secondary were suddenly viewed through a different lens. Sophie's influence, which had developed gradually over decades, was now impossible to overlook. Some insiders even suggested that her importance had been underestimated for far too long. As conversations expanded, speculation naturally followed. Questions emerged about how her role might continue developing and whether additional responsibilities could eventually be entrusted to her. Those discussions remained largely speculative, but they reflected a growing sense that Sophie's story was still unfolding. The recognition she had received appeared less like a final destination and more like the beginning of a new phase. every development seemed to generate fresh questions. Every appearance encouraged further analysis, and with each passing week, curiosity surrounding her future only intensified. Yet while palace insiders debated influence, hierarchy, and responsibility, another force was preparing to weigh in on the story. Because beyond the walls of royal residences and private meetings, public opinion was beginning to form its own conclusions. And what happened next would reveal just how significant Sophie's rise had truly become. Yet the most revealing chapter was still to come, because public reaction would prove just as significant as palace opinion. As news of Sophie's enhanced status spread, the response was immediate. Supporters praised her dedication, while commentators pointed to years of quiet service that had finally received the recognition many believed she deserved. What had begun as a palace development quickly transformed into a broader public conversation. The reaction extended far beyond royal insiders and official circles. Across communities of monarchy supporters, commentators, and longtime observers of the royal family, a common theme began emerging. Many people felt that Sophie's rise was not only understandable but overdue. For years, her work had often unfolded away from the center of public attention. While dramatic headlines frequently focused elsewhere, she continued fulfilling her responsibilities with remarkable consistency. Now that her growing importance had become impossible to ignore, many believed they were witnessing the long-awaited acknowledgement of decades spent serving without demanding recognition. The enthusiasm surrounding the announcement revealed something fascinating about public perception. Rather than treating Sophie's rise as a sudden development, many supporters viewed it as the natural outcome of a journey that had been unfolding for years. Conversations increasingly focused on her reliability, professionalism, and willingness to carry out difficult responsibilities without becoming distracted by controversy. In a world where public figures often rise and fall based on attention alone, Sophie seemed to represent something different. She represented steadiness. She represented commitment. And perhaps most importantly, she represented a form of service that many believed had become increasingly rare. Media coverage reflected that sentiment. Commentators repeatedly returned to the same question. Why had it taken so long for Sophie's contributions to receive this level of recognition? Stories examining her decades of royal work began highlighting the consistency that had defined her career. Unlike narratives built around dramatic transformations or sudden breakthroughs, Sophie's story appeared rooted in persistence. Year after year, she had continued serving. Year after year, she had accepted new challenges. And year after year, she had strengthened her reputation as one of the monarchy's most dependable figures. As discussions expanded, comparisons naturally emerged with other respected members of the royal family. Analysts pointed to figures who had earned admiration through dedication rather than publicity. In those conversations, Sophie's name increasingly appeared alongside royals known for placing duty above personal attention. Such comparisons further reinforced the idea that her rise represented more than a temporary moment of popularity. It suggested she had to become part of a tradition built upon service, responsibility, and long-term commitment to the institution. At the same time, her popularity among monarchy supporters appeared to grow. The announcement seemed to confirm what many had already suspected for years, that Sophie occupied a far more important role than public appearances alone might suggest. Supporters praised her calm approach during difficult periods and her willingness to remain focused on her work, even when the royal family faced significant challenges. In an era marked by uncertainty and change, many people viewed those qualities as particularly valuable. That perception gradually evolved into something even more significant. Increasingly, Sophie was being seen not simply as a respected royal, but as a dependable figure capable of helping guide the monarchy through complex times. Her reputation for stability resonated with those who believed the institution's future depended upon trusted individuals willing to place duty above personal ambition. Yet, even as praise continued growing and support expanded, another question quietly lingered beneath the celebrations. Recognition was one thing, influence was another, and the deeper implications of Sophie's rise were only beginning to be understood. But beneath the celebrations remained a larger question. What would Sophie's rise mean for the monarchy in the years ahead? What began as a seemingly modest palace announcement evolved into a defining royal moment. Sophie's new status was not simply about recognition. It symbolized the reward for years of dedication carried out far from the spotlight. Looking back across the journey that brought Sophie to this point, it becomes easier to understand why this development resonated so deeply with both royal insiders and the public alike. Her story was never built around dramatic breakthroughs or sudden transformations. Instead, it was shaped by perseverance. While others often occupied the center of attention, she quietly embraced the responsibilities placed before her and continued moving forward regardless of whether recognition followed. Year after year, she demonstrated the kind of commitment that rarely dominates headlines but ultimately leaves a lasting mark on an institution built upon duty and continuity. What makes this moment particularly powerful is the contrast between where the journey began and where it has now arrived. A figure once regarded primarily as a supporting presence has gradually become one of the monarchy's most trusted and respected voices. At the heart of this story stands Prince Edward, whose reaction transformed an official announcement into something deeply human. Throughout the years, he witnessed every challenge, every sacrifice, and every responsibility Sophie accepted along the way. His pride became more than a personal response. It became a symbol of validation for a journey defined by patience and resilience. According to those who followed the story closely, his emotional reaction reflected what many people had been feeling for years. The recognition was not simply deserved. It felt inevitable. The admiration he expressed seemed to capture a wider sentiment that had been quietly growing among supporters who believed Sophie's contributions had long exceeded the attention they received. Yet beyond the personal emotions lies an even larger story about the monarchy itself. As the institution continues navigating a rapidly changing world, the importance of trusted figures has never been greater. Public expectations remain high. Challenges continue emerging. Every decision carries weight. In such an environment, reliability becomes invaluable. Sophie's rise appears to reflect a broader shift toward placing greater trust in individuals who have consistently demonstrated dedication rather than seeking prominence. Her growing role suggests that the future of the monarchy may increasingly depend upon people capable of providing stability during uncertain times. That possibility has fueled growing interest in what comes next. Royal observers continue debating how her influence might evolve in the years ahead. Some believe her responsibilities will continue expanding. Others suggest she may become one of the most important supporting figures within the next chapter of royal life. While nobody can predict the future with certainty, one thing appears increasingly clear. Sophie's story is no longer defined by what she has accomplished. It is becoming defined by what she may still achieve. The recognition she has received feels less like the end of a journey, and more like the beginning of a new one. Perhaps that is why this moment feels so significant. It represents the triumph of loyalty over ambition, consistency over attention, and service over self-promotion. It serves as a reminder that some of the most influential figures are not always the loudest or the most visible. Sometimes they are the individuals who quietly dedicate themselves to a cause year after year until their contributions can no longer be ignored. Sophie's rise has become a testament to that principle, and her legacy is already taking shape through the values she represents: duty, loyalty, perseverance, and unwavering commitment to the institution she serves. And while the official announcement may now be complete, many believe the real story is only beginning, because Sophie's rise could become one of the most important royal developments of the decade. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.